Give me that look.
How are we going to do now, guys?
Look at me, Nico doing. There was a wheelbarrow on the court, and I was wheeling Nick.
This isn't for media.
No, we'll do it for fun.
Okay. Nice. How necessary are wheelbarrows as an external group for us to live the good life?
It made our lives much better today.
Well, it was were they necessary?
I reckon it was friendship.
Can you have friendship without wheelbarrows? Is it an alternative question?
Friendship.
Can't have wheelbarrows without friendship.
Let's
have 4 more minutes, because some people are just getting started.
How necessary are externals? And I just said food and water.
Yeah.
That's not best external is things.
Mr. Cole's African children.
That was nice.
No, I'm very talking about it. Oh yeah, you were starting two examples. He was the just the no money example. African children with no money example by Mr. Cole. The African children with no money example by Mr. Cole.
Yeah, don't write that. But you can talk about someone who has hardly any resources and is still happy. Alright guys, part of the point of this is to do it with your own thoughts first and then discuss after. So let's have 3 minutes, which is what we have left, of individual writing time.
I've done this.
So keep on explaining different scenarios and things if you've already finished. An individual written answer is ideas.
Can we use like internal?
You can talk about internal goods in your answer, that's fine. Got a pen, Evan?
It's having a look totally a good way.
Gonna write an answer too. Not like a SAT question, like a personal opinion. Even if you're not sure, just say the things you're thinking about.
Yes.
All right. Talk to people on your table, and I would like you guys to decide what the average position on your table is. Average response to the question.
It's not a yes or no question. It's like
Yeah. Like food and water.
Water shelter.
basically you said it.
Yeah.
I would just basically
Focus.
Yeah, no, it's pretty much pretty necessary.
Yeah.
Correct.
Yeah, like
More likely.
They are helpful, but it's not like sufficient.
It's not all there is.
Yeah.
Just because you have external goods doesn't mean.
I mean, you kind of need some external goods to have a life. So that's probably a little important. Or is living the good life necessarily mean your life? Could it mean your?
I would assume life is alive. I assume life and alive are.
I don't know about that. I think Descartes would beg to differ.
Confirmation.
There could be like actually soul, so that's technically life. That would be Descartes.
So did
Are you alive?
that a good life?
technically,
Existential crisis time.
One day.
Oh god.
What if you one day? What if you're living in a world? Why does it need any extra one day to make people accomplish in their life?
Communism.
Like what?
Everyone's equal, so there are no external goods because everyone has the same.
No, there aren't any external goods because you don't get food in communism.
That's a good life.
Oh boy,
Communism is like
that's a little controversial. So yeah, I think the general consensus is we do kind of need it.
what are you doing?
And I mean,
what if you have all the
Like if it's just
that are
friends that actually that we get along well.
satisfy all your needs? Do you need anything more than that?
Yeah, you can have like all the money, but you still don't have to be happy.
yeah, this is kind of where I was getting at. Like,
If
if you live in a society where money depends on how important money is to living a
No, but
comfortable
like
life.
it's helpful, but like
Yeah.
you can still be sad and have lots of money.
Basically, you need to be a balance between happiness and
You just stop it with like expensive petrol instead of the cheap
Stop
shit.
it! Oh my god, no, you both. You both.
That's a good way to
No, you should.
You die using money.
You and you influence each
You
other.
like
Just
to
like wrap myself in money that's flammable. And I just get like a high quality lighter fluid. And then high quality
High quality fire. Okay,
Alright.
Ryan.
Came back
you
together.
out of money stacks and make it your tool.
Did anyone argue that it's always good to have more stuff? Did anyone argue that? It's always more good to have more stuff.
To have stuff.
More stuff.
more stuff.
Did anyone argue you don't need anything to live a good life?
Well, then you're not living a life.
You're dead.
Well, you'll die eventually.
I mean, so if you have no food and water, I'm pretty sure you're gonna die pretty quick.
Is it possible to live a good life if you haven't got any food or water?
He has an example.
Nick?
Like, let's say you're alive for like one day, but you accomplish more than anyone else does in their whole lifespan. Like, you cure cancer in that one day, and like, you're happy with that, and you're done.
Okay.
Done.
Oh, you're done. Oh.
I like that. Is that a good life, guys?
Yeah.
Yeah, you cure cancer. Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, let's say that you
I mean,
can
you'd be constantly
figure out a way
hungry and
to
thirsty
cure
all the
cancer,
time.
but it's like
Yeah,
a
but you only live for
sort of Marie Curie thing. To discover radiation, you have to be exposed to radiation, right? So she has to, for some reason, our protagonist has to expose themselves to this deathly thing that'll kill them a day later, or maybe they won't be able to eat or drink after that, something like that. But they can cure cancer. You still said that was a good life, wouldn't you? What if they didn't discover the thing?
Good.
What if they just tried?
No.
There was a good chance they'd find a cure for cancer, but then it didn't pay off. Is that a good life?
No, that's just unlucky.
That's unlucky.
That's just
That's a bad life.
It's not. Unlucky. You had good intentions, but didn't pay off. So.
Alright, let's do this one. Let's say you sacrifice a lot to try and cure cancer, but you fail. was that a virtuous life? That person, talk to the person next to you. Was that virtuous?
It's like saying you guys are good,
You sacrificed everything and then you have no reward for it.
No, but you gotta try
That kind of sucks, bro.
Yeah, you try to
It's the journey.
War is not a good thing. Yeah, you have to be careful.
I'm not bugging out.
I think that expression becomes laggy. Like you do want some reward.
They should put that on math test. The journey that matters, like not the answer, like the process.
Well, you get more points for working out than you do for.
That's the one point more marks for being
If you have good intentions and you fail, it's better than other situations like war. It's like everyone has good intentions and wars like doing.
Ryan has good notes.
Obviously, you just depends on the long road.
That's a good.
But other color coordinates.
Yeah, I do. I've only done the first half there, but like not the second half.
Which is honorable.
Really?
See?
Coming back together.
So like whatever you're defending.
Hands up if you think the person who fails is virtuous. Ryan, what would you say about that?
The virtues, yeah, they've accomplished what?
So who is that, Andy? They've accomplished nothing. Go on, Ryan. What have they accomplished?
No, they tried.
They tried?
Their best, you know.
And that's worth something?
Yeah.
It's worth something.
Maybe they didn't find the cure, but they made the steps to find the cure.
That's fine. Have you guys seen Coach Carter?
No.
Do you guys know
Yeah.
Coach Carter?
Sounds familiar.
Sorry, it's lots of movie references sometimes, isn't it? Think about any famous movie where someone tries really hard but they fail at the end, and you're supposed to realise that they accomplished something bigger.
Infinity War.
It's good. Andy, you don't think that it's virtuous, or you do?
No, that's a bad one.
I think it's virtuous.
Why?
If you defended it, but you died in
At least they tried.
They tried, and that's worth something. Does anyone think it's not virtuous?
Nick.
Wait, hold up. What?
Nick, think it's not virtuous?
No, I would say it's virtuous, but I wouldn't say it's good life.
It's virtuous, but it's not good.
Yeah, virtuous.
Alright. What would Aristotle say?
It's.
Yeah.
If you tried to.
Tried?
Virtuous.
All your acts, all your.
What's the word for virtue that Aristotle would use?
Not
What word would Aristotle use for virtue, guys? Starts with an A. Arete, which means what?
I don't remember.
Only if you act.
It means virtue in the sense of, arete means virtue in the sense of what?
Excellent.
Excellence. Would you say that someone failing to do something is excellent?
No.
Not usually. Sometimes you might. Like if someone doesn't win a 100-meter sprint, they might still be the second fastest person in the world. That could still be virtuous, right? That could still be excellent. Not excellent enough, but it was quite excellent, right? But if it's like a failure, like a proper failure to succeed, especially if it's in your function, Aristotle is not going to think of that as virtuous. Yeah? Now he is going to say that there are moral virtues, right? Things like bravery and courage, where even if you die in battle, our function is to act bravely, and so we've fulfilled that function even if you've died in the battle. Does that make sense? So the success of your endeavour isn't necessarily the same as the success of being virtuous, being a good person. Yeah? Cool, let's read book 2. So, let's go about the reading. We're on chapter 1. How do we go with the homework?
Where am I reading?
Yeah, textbook sections, summarising key ideas. Not bad. Column 23.
Yeah. Page 24. Page 24.
You scared me so bad.
Does anyone want to read today?
Daniel.
I thought I left it.
Daniel.
Abdul for saying that.
Abdul,
That's
yeah.
like 90% of the time.
Yeah, but you volunteer people 100% of the time.
I raise more the most.
Would anyone like to volunteer themselves? Thanks, Dan.
David Walton.
Alright.
What is up with that?
Alright, so we're on book 2, moral virtue,
I don't really want to do it.
how it's acquired. Moral virtue, like the arts, is acquired by the repetition of corresponding acts.
Virtue then being of two kinds, intellectual and moral. Intellectual virtue in the main owes both its birth and its growth to ceasing, for which reason it requires experience and time, while moral virtue comes about as a result of habit. Whence? It's like when and hence at once. Whence?
From which?
Also, its name is one that is formed by a slight variation from the word ethos. Oh wow. Okay. From this it is also plain that none of the moral virtues arises in us by nature, for nothing that exists by nature can form a habit contrary to its nature. For instance, the stone which by nature moves downwards cannot be habituated to move upwards, not even if one tries to train it by
Come on, Darren, keep it together.
Nor can fire be habituated to move downwards, nor can anything else that by nature behaves in one way be trained to behave in another. Neither by nature then, nor contrary to nature, do the virtues arise in us. Rather, we are adapted by nature to receive them, and are made perfect by habits.
Alright, so are we naturally moral beings?
No, not all of us.
Yes.
No. Aristotle says no. He says we're, and this is the line, adapted by nature to receive them, yeah, virtuous habits. But we're not by nature virtuous beings, yeah? So we can become virtuous. How do we become virtuous? Through habit. So there's two kinds of virtue. Let's make sure we've got this written down somewhere. You can do it on the side or you can write it in your notes. It's up to you. Intellectual virtues, which we form.
Yeah, it doesn't matter. Because it was on my side.
By learning. And remember, think intellectual excellence. So, for example, you get good at maths by learning how to do maths, by practicing doing maths. Yeah? If you do maths, if you come to school every day, yeah, and you do maths, and every single class you have, you get the answer wrong, and you just keep on doing it that way, you would become, like, in a sense, a worse and worse mathematician. Does that make sense?
Yes.
Yeah, alright. Moral virtues then? Which are learned, let's say developed.
I told you from the start. We can.
What should?
What was the best for you?
Yeah.
You know Bandit or Triple Games?
Yeah, the first time.
Now he's in what?
First time in.
Since March 2018. So technically, that means his downfall started just on the verge of the first game. And his hair is different as well, yeah?
Conscious about.
He's got different hair, yeah?
No, he's not the same. He's probably thinking about. No, he's not thinking about it. He's not good. Virtues. That's good.
Yeah.
Wait, what does it mean by being dribbled? What if someone kicks it to the side?
But if they get past that, they get an action.
Like this. What's that? Goes around there, passes. Goes around there, scores. Goes around, dribble passes.
If he just gets past it, that's a take. If he doesn't do anything, if he gets past it, that's a weak pass. Let's say I lost the other set. That's a take on, but actually behavior.
Behavior involving more habits.
The second strikes.
Involving more habits.
Chelsea, because since we learned how to play this, my predicted position from
It
the
is not an HR.
second to be virtuous. Now you don't have to
Quick little story about Aristotle's physics here to help you remember this. The whole thing about the rock, right? You can't teach a rock to fall upwards just by throwing it upwards again and again and again, right? Because it's against its nature, Aristotle would have said, for the rock to go upwards. Aristotle thought that the home of the rock was down at the bottom. Yeah, under our feet, down with all the other earth.
Because gravity wasn't a thing back then.
Gravity wasn't really a thing back then, exactly, right? But things instead had like a natural place that was their home. For Aristotle, pretty much the world was made up of 4 major elements. Yeah? Do you guys, if you know Airbender, you know the 4 elements, right?
The elements.
So it's like earth.
Fire.
The earth is the first layer, right? Which is like the bottom. Does anyone know what layer would be then on top of the earth? Water. Water nation next. So the water's home is on top of the earth, right? And the water will always try and get on top of the earth, but below the air, right? And the air's home, if you let air go in water, for example, it'll try and go to its home, which is above the water, but below the fire. If you light a match, the fire will try and get home, which is the sun. We all good?
Makes sense.
This is Aristotle's
I guess.
Makes sense. Aristotle's physics lasted for like 8,000 years, so.
Yeah, but it's like, I can see how
I know, how are they didn't have a periodic table yet.
It's a good effort.
So,
They haven't signed any
not bad.
attachment, it's a good effort.
So he thought it really was part of the nature, like the soul of the rock or something like that. It was really part of the natural way that rocks are to fall downwards. Yeah, it's part of their inbuilt nature. He was saying that we don't have an inbuilt nature to be good. Yeah, humans aren't naturally good and we're not naturally bad, but rather it's our nature to be able to become either. It's our nature to be good and evil, or virtuous or otherwise. Does that make sense to everyone? Maybe the way you could remember that is that there's good and evil within everyone or something like that. Yeah? Except in the language of virtue. Alright, do you want to keep going then?
Yeah.
Excellent.
Air under the earth.
Here we go.
Again, of all the things that come to us by nature, we first acquire the potentiality and later exhibit the activity. This is plain in the case of the senses, for it was not by often seeing or often hearing that we got these senses. But on the contrary, we had them before we used them, and did not come to have them by using them. But the virtues we get by first exercising them, as also happens in the case of the arts as well. For the things we have to learn before we can do them, we learn by them. Example, men become builders by building, and lyre players become lyre players by playing the lyre. So too we become just by doing just acts, temperate by doing temperate acts, brave by doing brave acts. This is confirmed by what happens.
Let's stop there for a second.
Yeah.
Does that make sense to everyone?
Yeah. Yeah.
What's the senses bit?
The senses we already have. Like we don't get them by using them,
You use your senses first,
Yeah.
and then you get good at seeing. Yeah? You have to practice the virtues first, and then you become virtuous, you're saying. Yeah? You don't just have the virtues and then you express them or anything like that. Yeah? You get them by doing. Yeah? We become virtuous by acting virtuously. So, you become brave by doing brave acts. The lyre, which is like the guitar, you become a guitarist by learning to play. You're not a guitarist already, and then you just learn to express it. Does that make sense to everyone? Cool. So the way you get good at being virtuous, being brave, is the same way that you get good at being a guitarist, a lyre player.
Yes.
Cool.
Everyone?
Yep.
This is confirmed by what happens in states. The legislators make the citizens good by forming habits in them. And this is the wish of every legislator. Those who do not affect it miss their mark, and it is in this that a good constitution differs from a bad one.
Nice. What's this bit saying, anyone? Megan, what do you think?
I'm not sure.
Evan, any ideas? Anna? This is confirmed by what happens in states, countries. Legislators, lawmakers, make the citizens good by forming habits in them with the law. Is the point of our laws to force our citizens to form good habits? And should that be the point of our laws? 10-second talk with the person next to you.
Yes. Is it any more? Yes. Should be. Yes.
No. Yes.
What doesn't the school be?
No.
Just to not make you a bad person. Not to
Well,
make
so
it
is
Does
it
that
bad.
make you a good person? Or is it
Not
prevent you from being a bad person?
prevent you from being a bad person.
Why is that? Why shouldn't it make you a good person?
You're not bad as a It just means you're holding yourself in.
Why don't we make it illegal to be bad in any way? And we'll make
Well, you
it.
have to define what's bad and what's good, and that,
You can say that.
That's the difference.
it's just hard.
Alright.
Or what makes it good?
Hand up if you think the law should try and create good habits in citizens.
Perhaps.
Oh, people are pretty dodge on that. Hand up if you think the law is just to prevent bad behaviour. Really bad behaviour. See if you can think of a bad behaviour that you think the law shouldn't prevent. Talk to the person next to you.
What?
Huh.
That's
Whoa, Miguel.
Well, if you think
I was doing something who were
Like the land.
Wait, what's a rule that should be in place?
Oh,
Yeah, I agree.
medical marijuana.
Recreational.
Actually changed my stance. I'm actually against capital.
What?
How are you against
What?
capital punishment?
You would
So
agree
what
with
if
the Hunger
what is
Games.
a guy?
What? No.
So
what are you saying there?
What if his only way to get through
That's
is
Do
the
you think he believes?
become a
Do you believe
Right.
in
This is
deserves
going to
it?
explain why.
What?
In case
Be
of
right to vote thing.
accidentally, like getting the wrong guy.
Yeah.
I don't think they should be forced to, but I think if
No,
someone's
but
like,
they have so much evidence.
Technically.
yeah, if they have enough evidence
That's the
to
only
go
way
to
you can
jail,
survive.
they can choose whether or not they should die because they have life
But at the
sentence.
same time, there's nothing else for genuinely nothing else
I
you
think you should like
Is there anything bad that he
Yeah, but they're not going to get the wrong
that
guy.
would be bad to do?
They have many time.
Oh shit.
Do anything.
No, that's you. You want to go and visit them. Nobody stops listening.
That's time up though.
Are
you alright?
He wants to be invisible.
Yeah, it's like
Alright, anyone
vigilante
got
is
something for
basically
these two
taking
tables?
revenge for the
Alright.
We've got
Something bad that the law shouldn't ban.
We got sidetracked. Talk about crowd punishment.
Killing people, straight,
Like, shouldn't ban killing people.
Relax.
On the radio.
Capital punishment.
Wait, did you say?
What about like gossiping about your friends? Should that be illegal?
It's not that
Yeah,
bad.
it should be.
What?
It's
Yeah.
not, is it illegal?
Yeah, they should. Yeah, actually
Like
should be.
gossiping about your friends.
Is that illegal?
No, it's not. But should it be?
Yeah.
No.
Yeah.
Why should it be illegal?
It's bad.
Wait, what's it?
That, exactly.
Gossiping about your friends. Should that be
They
illegal?
should get like about $50.
Should it be illegal?
What?
It's pretty cheap.
Well,
rich
police
boy.
presumably.
Who gets
Yes,
involved
they're
with the
gonna
government
have
leaking?
If someone, you have
Maybe.
that video evidence of them.
Maybe get on Facebook.
and gossiping.
If he gets
This is the question, guys. So Aristotle thinks, this is kind of a side note, right? But Aristotle thinks that the point of a state and of people who write laws, and remember Socrates thinks something like this as well, right? The point of talking to people is to help them become better people. Aristotle thinks that the role of the state to enforce habits that make people into better people. How much does this mean you make laws that mean you can't do things like gossip or
That was like
throw things around? Let's move on. Damon?
Yes, where were we at?
Again, it is.
Again, it's from the same causes and by the same means that every virtue is both produced and destroyed, and similarly every art. For it is from playing the lyre that both good and bad lyre players are produced. And the corresponding statement is true of builders and of all the rest. Men will be good or bad builders as a result of building well or badly. For if this were not so, there would have been no need of a teacher, but all men would have been all good or bad at their craft. This then is the case with the virtues also. By doing the acts that we do in our transactions with other men, we become just or unjust. And by doing the acts that we do in the presence of danger, and by being habituated to feel fear or confidence, we become brave or cowardly. The same is true of appetites and feelings of anger. Some men become temperate and tempered, others self-indulgent and irascible, by behaving in one way or the other in the appropriate circumstances. Thus, in one word, states of character arise out of like activities. This is why the activities we exhibit must be of a certain kind. It is because the state of character corresponds to the differences between these. It makes no small difference then whether we form habits of one kind or of another from our very youth. It makes a very great difference, or rather,
Nice one. So a couple of things in there. confirming this idea again, it's from playing the lyre that good and bad lyre players are produced. Yeah? I'm not really a bad guitar player at the moment. I'm just not a guitar player. But I can become a bad guitar player if I learn to play really badly and I get worse and worse and worse. Yeah?
Yes.
There's sort of a sense in which that's true. Yeah, like if I'm just constantly getting the wrong note, or if someone teaches me scales with like 3 notes missing or something, I'll become a really bad lyre player. In the same way, you can become an unvirtuous person by practicing unvirtuous acts. So let's take courage as a virtue. Courage is a virtue. You can become courageous by acting courageously in situations that demand it. But alternatively, you can become a coward by acting out of cowardice in situations that demand courage. Does that make sense to everyone?
Yeah.
Cool. What could we say? Do you guys know that with some kinds of diabetes, people have to give themselves like a blood test every day?
Yeah.
It's like a little blood test, like little pinprick of blood every day. And you can imagine someone who is like hates it every single time, and they just think about it all the time that they're going to have to do it in like a couple of hours, and then when it happens, they're like, ah, and they get used to crying out aloud and having a big whinge and sucking a lot, right? And it gets worse and worse because they just get more and more anxious about it, and every day they prick their finger and they're like, oh, this is terrible, why is my life so bad, right? And that person for Aristotle would be developing cowardice. Does that make sense? Yes. They're becoming a more cowardly person, a less virtuous person. Whereas the person who eventually gets used to it and can deal with it well and steels themselves for it and then doesn't really think about it anymore and just does it, becomes a brave person. Yeah? All good?
Yeah.
Sweet. Let's make sure... What am I looking at? Oh, yeah. States of character arise out of like activities. Let's just highlight or write out that sentence. States of character arise out of like activities.
Where is it?
What does that mean? Anyone?
You act bad, you're going to be bad.
Yeah, you act bad, you're going to be bad. You act well, you're going to be
Well,
be good. But particularly in terms of the virtues, right? Can anyone think of another kind of virtue apart from courage that applies to?
Brave.
Apart from courage and bravery, what else?
just
Being just. Okay, so maybe dealing with bad activity or rewarding good activity appropriately. Yep, good. So maybe if you're the boss on a work site and someone works 8 hours a day and you routinely pay them for only 7 hours or something, you'd be developing a sort of unjust attitude. But if you pay them for 8 hours work a day, that'd be developing justice, right? Interestingly, for Aristotle, if you paid them for 9 hours work in that day, that's also kind of unjust, because that's too much.
Yeah.
Does that make sense? You're kind of being too nice. It's kind of unjust in a sense. That's going to come back in a minute. And then there's this last bit about being a kid, forming habits in our youth. Does Aristotle think that the things we do in our youth are important or not?
yes.
Yeah, really important. He thinks that the habits we form in our youth pretty much stick with us for the rest of our lives. Do you reckon that's true?
Yeah.
Depends if you want to change it or not.
Do you reckon you know whether a person's going to be virtuous when they're 50 if you look at them when they're 18?
They can change though.
They can
Yeah,
change?
but it's hard to change.
It's hard to change?
That have been instilled in you since birth.
Yeah.
And it's also genetic as well. Some habits just get genetically.
Okay.
And it's like much harder to change.
Do you guys think that virtuous habits are genetic? Talk to the person next to you.
Virtuous habits.
Give us an example.
Like things like
Example.
I get what he means.
Because if say person A, he gives a lot in charity, he's very charitable. Then when he has
That's not
no, then when he has child B, So A is a parent, B is a child, and it's like genetically likes giving money as well.
What? How does that happen?
Okay, let's.
Not like that.
Okay,
There are habits, but it's not like that.
Okay, what if parent A, he's charitable, but parent B is like greedy? What is the child then? Is he greedy or charitable?
Alright, coming back to that. Hand up, does anyone buy this idea? Habits are genetic?
To an extent, not like
Yeah, to an extent.
Joe?
To a reasonable extent, yeah. Like, some traits are passed down. Like,
Some traits?
yeah, like
bravery?
both of them are child.
I honestly don't know if
That's just coincidence.
Do you guys think bravery is passed down genetically?
No.
Bravery? Yeah. Like in the ancient stories, it's like
Ancient
kings.
stories
And
are
then they
unbelievable.
Let him
they're
talk.
like as brave as a king.
Yeah, the prince is as
Yeah,
brave as the
they
king.
inherit the braveness and courage from
That's
the
nurture
king.
then. That's
Yeah,
good observation.
And he says, no, that's just socialization. So there's this nature versus nurture debate, right? Do we get our character from our parents, or do we get it from the way we're raised and our environment and our choices and things? Hang on, guys.
It has been proven that in the DNA you adopt personality characteristics from other parents, but it's not necessarily a habit. For example, helping people in this specific situation. If, for example, if one of your parents is hot-headed, there's a chance that you may adopt this trait, and it may affect how you develop the habit.
Yeah, good one. I quite like the way that was expressed. Good. So genetics do come from our parents, yeah, but even genetics, a lot of our genes have the ability to be like turned on or off by our environment. Do you guys know that?
Yeah.
Yeah, so maybe there are genetics, for example, for how likely you are to be alcoholic, right? Some people with some certain genes, especially if they're turned on, are more likely to be addicted to alcohol if they drink it. Yeah? Does that make sense? Having said that, obviously choices make a bit of a difference too. So maybe. Alright, so let's keep going. We only have a bit of time left. We've only read one chapter. Let's keep going. These acts cannot be prescribed exactly, but must avoid excess and defect. So, since then, the present inquiry does not aim at theoretical knowledge like the others. We're inquiring not in order to know what virtue is, but in order to become good, since otherwise our inquiry would have been of no use. We must examine the nature of actions, namely how we ought to do them. For these determine also the nature of the states of character that are produced, as we have said. It's like we're not going for an intellectual understanding of what virtue is, we're trying to figure out what we need to do. Yeah? What do we need to do to become virtuous? Now that we must act in accordance with correct reason is a common principle and must be assumed. It will be discussed later. I.e. both what correct reason is and how it's related to the other virtues. But this must be agreed upon beforehand, that the whole account of matters of conduct must be given in outline and not precisely, as we've said at the very beginning, so that the account to be demanded must be in accordance with the subject matter. Matters concerned with conduct and questions of what is good for us to have no fixity any more than matters of health. He's just saying again, we can't always get specific answers when we're talking about what virtuous action is. Yeah, it's a general discussion. The general account being of this nature, the account of particular cases is yet more lacking in exactness. They do not fall under any art or precept, but the agents themselves must in each case consider what is appropriate to the occasion. This happens also in the art of medicine or of navigation. Alright, but though our present account is of this nature, we must give what help we can. First then let us consider this, that it is the nature of such things, let's highlight this section, it's the nature of such things to be destroyed by defect and excess, as we see in the case of strength and of health. For to gain light on things imperceptible, we must use the evidence of sensible things. Exercise, either excessive or defective, destroys the strength. And similarly, drink or food which is above or below a certain amount destroys the health, while that which is proportionate both produces and increases and preserves it. So let's get this in quickly, because we're running out of time today. Chapter 2. Excess and defect. Excess and defect means too much and not enough, right? Like deficiency, too much. So we should try to have an appropriate amount
can't see that.
I like drink or food, which is supposed
You can't see that.
Yeah, his bottom.
In all things.
Heresy.
You hate him. You're sucking him off.
Yeah, what I don't understand is that how events can work and why do you still want to stay? Like, you tell people what you.
It's not that they want to say they were willing to.
No, because he's not part of Sarah's plans.
Isn't he?
He's not.
No, he's not.
He Sari honestly doesn't want him in the club. But he still wants to stay. He's meant to do it.
It's like Bale.
Yeah, but Bale wants to leave.
No, Bale wants to stay. Wait, for the money. Bale wanted to stay.
Bale is getting like paid $1 million a week for the channel. It's not for the money. It's because he wants to. Yeah, but the thing is that Bale is different.
Do you guys know anyone in year 12 who exercises too much?
What?
Is there anyone in year 12 who exercises too much?
Does
Does anyone know Tony Newen or Kevin or I don't know?
Which Tony Newen? There's two Tony
A
Newen.
couple of Tony Newens. There's the one Tony Newen who I know fairly well who goes to the gym heaps. Yeah?
Oh,
and he's
yeah.
been constantly injured this year. Because he just exercises too much.
The one with
Right?
glasses.
What with glasses?
He has glasses.
Oh,
Let me see.
that one?
No, I'm talking about a different person.
Tony Tran?
Maybe it's Trent.
Basketball?
Yeah, basketball.
Oh,
Tony
Tony
Trent.
Tran.
Yeah, yeah.
Tony
You guys know him?
He's always injured. Tony.
He's always injured, right? Because he, well, I'm just saying, Aristotle would say, because he exercises too much. If you exercise too much, you're going to be really stuffed. Your body isn't going to cope well with it. You can't recover, and you'll have no strength. Yeah.
Yeah.
It's like, and we're talking about like if you run 40 kilometers a day, and if you do that every day for a month, then you're probably going to have no strength. And if you can do that every day and you're fine, you should do the Tour de France and make a bunch of money, right? Because they ride like 100 kilometers a day for like 20 days in a row. It's crazy. Yeah.
No, he doesn't work out.
But if you don't exercise at all, then also you're not going to have strength. Yeah? That also destroys the strength. Same thing with food. If you don't eat enough, you get really sick. If you eat way too much, you get really sick. Both are bad. Does that make sense to everyone?
Yeah.
Not like a vegetable.
What do you mean?
Imagine not liking
I just like Vegemite.
You really like Vegemite?
Yeah.
I love Vegemite.
Vegemite with butter.
Yeah.
Do you like Vegemite?
But you can't have too much Vegemite because that's too salty, and you can't have not enough Vegemite.
It's like dirt.
You have to have the right amount.
If you have it with butter, you sort
It's
of.
molten involved.
Yeah, yeah.
It's weird.
Wait, at least I eat Marmite, man.
The color of Vegemite. The color of Vegemite.
It's like a
You
stronger
tell
version of
her.
Vegemite.
I gotta give you that. I gotta give you
That's
that.
not even Vegemite. It's like.
I gotta give it to him.
Wait, eating Vegemite with a spoon.
No, it's like, would you rather have Nutella or
No, chocolate.
I'd rather have Nutella.
Chocolate is too strong. I don't like chocolate. Like, I don't like too much chocolate. I don't like
Nutella's good?
chocolate ice cream.
Oh, do you like IKEA chocolate? The IKEA. Oh, that's elegant.
I don't get IKEA.
Yeah, I don't get. I never went
You
like
guys
that.
know
I'm
about
being
IKEA?
I'm being. Huh?
I keep it.
Do the no look back.
Yeah.
Do the no look back. They're leaving the room pack. Do the leaving the room pack.
Nearly fine. Come on.
79. Go on.
Oh, all right. Homework. Only 3 questions. If you've done Friday's homework.
Wait.
But if you haven't done Friday's homework, then you have to do 3 questions plus Friday's homework, which was to read those sections for chapters 1 through to 6, I think.
236.
239, exactly. So you have to read to the end of 239, but you also have to do the right questions number 1, 2, and 3 on page 237. That should be not too hard for Wednesday. Guys, our sack for this section of the unit will be
It's going to be conceptual methods.
maybe later next week, but probably start of the week after.
Oh, okay.
Alright, say, after exercise destroys the strength.
Those guys are Friday.
Destroys the
Friday would be like.
strength. Likewise, too much or too little food destroys the health.
Wait, so it's next week?
It'll be late next week or the start of the week following,
Is that next week?
depending how quickly we get through this.
Lesson, like basically.
Yeah.
I got tomorrow.
And I have to figure out if I can do it on Wednesday during class or after school on Friday.
Psychology,
I'm guessing you all want Wednesday.
If you were Wednesday.
All 4 subjects.
Yeah, I have physics. Message English and
Hey, look, it actually recorded the whole time.
Woo!